Today I'd like to discuss the absurdity of the conspiracy aspect of Flat Earth. This is a conspiracy that involves billions of people being deceived about the very ground they stand on, and yet it has failed in almost every single regard. Let's go over a few reasons why the idea of governments hiding the shape of the Earth falls flat on its face after you think about it for more than 10 seconds. First of all, there's the existence and very public, visible nature of Flat Earthers. They have their own channels, some with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. They have active debate communities, and they even hold their own conferences. Quick question: what kind of completely moronic supreme leader would allow people to spread a truth that they are attempting to hide? I'm going to go ahead and make an assumption that most Flat Earthers don't fully trust Google. If you're going to believe this conspiracy, you'd have to believe a megacorporation like Google is going to be in on it. Hell, I'm not exactly a conspiracy theorist, and I don't fully trust Google. And yet, Google has allowed the Flat Earth to flourish. It has made no effort to stop them. Oh, you can point to the recent algorithm change that's impacting my channel just as much as theirs, but that's a facile argument. Why take you down in stages? They have the power and the legal right to silence you completely, but they don't. Now, let's talk about some simple mistakes. Let's assume, just for a moment and just for the sake of argument, that all space travel is being faked, and that Earth is not shaped the way we are told. Why? Why, oh why, oh why? Why on God's green earth would they fail so spectacularly and obviously in such ways that absolute morons like Jeranism can figure it out?
And what you're seeing here is a mirage. We typically would not be able to see this from the Lake Michigan shore. We talked about this last night. Conditions are right on the lake that we're actually seeing a mirage of the Chicago skyline. Very interesting here. Here's what's happening. This is a good example of a superior mirage. So Joshua was on the Lake Michigan shore. He was looking towards the west, and Chicago's beyond the horizon. Should not be able to see it. However, with the right conditions, we have an inversion.
Oh, the right conditions. So let's do the math. Distance from Grand Mare to Chicago was 59 miles. So we do our little equation, 8 times 59 times 59 equals 27,848. Divided by 12 equals 2,320 feet. And this is what we should have seen. We should have seen the curvature of the Earth being the blue line, our line of sight being the green line.
Like, really? Imagine a board meeting at NASA where somebody jumps up and says, "Shit, we forgot to put the stars in half of the photos."
Whoopsie daisy!
Imagine NASA reviewing ISS footage, seeing video artifacts and going, "Oh no, all those glitches with our green screen." Nobody will notice. Imagine them reviewing EVA footage and choosing to ignore bubbles appearing from the astronauts' suits, again deciding people just won't notice. In your hypothetical world, flatties, how utterly incompetent and stupid are space agencies? Last, but certainly not least, we have to look at some numbers. The big failure to me of the idea of this conspiracy involves how many people need to be involved in it. Let's do some math here. I'll start with the obvious. All space agencies must be involved. If we total up the number of employees in NASA, SpaceX, ESA, Roscosmos, CSA, Boeing, the Sierra Nevada Corporation, and the Chinese Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation, although these numbers may be off, China is very discreet about their space operations, we get just over 500,000 people, 552,694. However, there are many more space agencies that exist. ISRO for India, CNES for France, plus Italy has one, Israel, the UK, South Africa, Ukraine, Sweden, Brazil, Argentina, Pakistan, Iran, Norway, Hungary, the UAE, South Korea, North Korea, Romania, the Netherlands, Lithuania, Australia, Austria, Bangladesh, New Zealand,
United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru,
and a few more. Granted, not all of these space agencies have orbital launch capabilities, but they're still acknowledging and promoting that space exists and that Earth is round. So, considering most of these agencies are likely smaller than NASA, SpaceX, ESA, etc., let's be conservative and bring the number up to 750,000. We're now at 750,000 people who need to be silenced, and that's just the space agencies. But there's a lot more people we need to add here. Let's start with pilots. every airline pilot would have to know the Earth is flat, and would need to be lying about the way their instruments work in order to maintain the globe illusion. So, how do we determine this? Well, there's a site called Flight Radar 24, which shows live air traffic across the globe. While writing this script, there were approximately 13,000 planes in the air. Now, I'm going to multiply that number by 50. Why 50? Military and general aviation craft are not on the site, firstly. Secondly, most aircraft have 2 or more pilots. Additionally, what's flying right now is only about half the number of airliners ready to fly. So we end up with around 650,000 pilots who need to be in on the conspiracy. Add to that the 14,000 air traffic controllers, the 6,000 airway transportation system specialists, and according to the FAA website, in general, 10,600,000 jobs have been generated from aviation. So let's just say we're roughly at 12 million people now. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be an accurate way to determine how many seismologists are in the world, but they need to be in on it too. If you're wondering why, see my video about earthquakes. There you'll find that earthquake epicenters are determined using a method that only works on a sphere. So since there's no easy way to tell, let's again be conservative and add 1 million people. I acknowledge that I'm probably way off. Now, who else? Well, telecommunications companies need to be involved. They'd have to know that satellites are a hoax, and they're faking it to make their equipment appear to interact with satellites. Now again, it's hard to determine how many individuals are actually capable of and employed in working with satellite dishes, so I'm not going to count them. But are you beginning to see my point, flat earthers? Millions upon millions of people need to be involved in this conspiracy. An enormous chunk of the population on this planet need to be silenced the second they get out of post-secondary education, maybe even earlier. And you're telling me that this is a reasonable belief to have? Based on what exactly? How do you rationalize this, flat earthers? Does it just go back to your false dichotomy of you versus the sheep? I've told you before and I'll tell you again. It is absolutely absurd to generalize over 7 billion people into just 2 categories, short of male and female. This whole thing just plain doesn't make sense, guys. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you like this video, like it. If you want to see more, please subscribe to my channel, which is Dead Kennedy in Space. Thank you, and I'm out.
Over the next hill, beyond the horizon.
Find your place in space. Space is vast and unexplored. There's a lot of work to do.